The descent through Tarvex's upper atmosphere shook the diplomatic shuttle like a leaf in a storm. Flames licked across the hull, not from friction, but from the planet's own volatile air, rich with combustion elements. Through the forward viewport, Consul Ryan Ward watched rivers of lava carve glowing scars through a charcoal black surface. The planet pulsed with life, dangerous, beautiful life. Approach vector confirmed. Touchdown in 1 minute, the AI announced calmly. Ryan adjusted his diplomatic uniform and squared his shoulders. After 20 years of negotiating with species that breathed methane, photosynthesized fear, or communicated through scent, he thought he'd seen everything. But Tarvex was different. This was humanity's first contact with a race that didn't just manipulate fire, they were fire. As the shuttle's landing struts deployed, the cabin lights dimmed. The entire bay filled with a low, melodic hum, Tarvex's native resonance, the vibration of the planet's crust harmonizing with its inhabitants. Wonderful, Ryan muttered. Even the rocks have personality. The shuttle settled onto a landing pad carved from volcanic glass, still warm from recent activity. As the airlock hissed open, a wave of dry, metallic heat washed over him. It smelled of ash and ozone, like the moments after a thunderstorm, if that storm had occurred inside a forge. She stood waiting at the base of the ramp, tall, lithe, and utterly motionless, except for the faint flicker of amber light beneath her skin, like lava coursing through transparent veins. Her eyes were slits of molten gold, hair black as obsidian spilled down her back, threaded with thin wires that shimmered faintly. "Consul Ward," she said, her voice low and smooth, as if spoken from the back of a cave. "I am Lena Tkar. I will be your guide during your stay." Ryan descended the ramp slowly, scanning her for weaponry or hostility. None visible, but the woman herself was a weapon. There was a subtle tension in her stance, the kind fighters had before the first strike. Her hands were bare, but Ryan had read the briefings. Physical contact with a Tarvalian could induce burns. She didn't offer a handshake. "A pleasure, Ms. Tkar," he said, forcing a smile. "I hope your planet is more hospitable than its welcome suggests." Her expression didn't change. "Tarvex is alive. It does not pretend to be safe." "That makes two of us, then," Ryan replied. A flicker crossed her face. Amusement? Perhaps. But it vanished just as quickly. "This way," she said, turning on her heel and walking toward the crystalline transport waiting near the pad. As he followed her, Ryan felt the heat rising off the black stone underfoot. The city ahead shimmered like a mirage, spires of volcanic glass threaded with energy veins, each building pulsing like a beating heart. He'd come here to negotiate trade protocols and research exchanges. But as Lena led him forward in silence, he had a growing sense that this assignment would demand far more than words. It would demand something he wasn't sure he still possessed: trust. The Grand Hall of Embers was unlike anything Ryan had ever seen. No walls, just towering pillars of volcanic glass arching toward a sky ablaze with sulfuric light. The floor beneath his feet throbbed with gentle heat, a heartbeat of magma flowing miles below. The air shimmered, and everywhere, that low hum, the song of Tarvex. Lena walked ahead, silent as ever. Her presence was flame-contained, restrained, but ready to ignite. As they entered the central dais, Ryan was met with a half-circle of imposing figures seated on thrones of obsidian and gold. The High Council of Tarvex. Each member radiated inner fire, literally. Their skin pulsed with red and orange light, some glowing more brightly as emotions rippled through the room. "Consul Ward of Earth," a voice boomed. The speaker stood, her form lean and severe. Her skin shimmered like white-hot steel. "I'm Elder Varaz, Speaker of the Flame. You are welcome, under condition." "Condition?" Ryan asked, already wary. She nodded. "By the ancient Concord of Preservation, no off-worlder may remain on Tarvex longer than 3 sunrises unless bonded." Ryan blinked. "Bonded how?" Elder Varaz's molten eyes narrowed. "Through the rite of Firelink. A mutual anchoring of psyche and essence between one of our kind and yours. Without it, your body and mind will decay. The heat will not burn your skin, Consul. It will burn your spirit. Ryan tried to process. You're saying? I need to form some kind of emotional tether with the Tarvalian? That's your immigration protocol. The elder didn't smile. It is survival, not sentiment. Tarvex is alive. Prolonged exposure unmoored, without a link to our people, leads to psychothermal dissonance. Madness. Death. Beside him, Lena stirred. The bond stabilizes the foreign soul, she said softly. I have been chosen. Ryan turned to her. You? Lena met his gaze without flinching. Yes, I have completed the guide's trials. My essence is strong enough to contain yours. Contain, as if he were a volatile element. Ryan felt his pulse rise. This wasn't in any of the prep briefs. Baraz spoke again. It was omitted. We feared your people would refuse before understanding. This is absurd. I came here to draft a treaty, not get spiritually handcuffed to a lava woman. Gasps echoed. Lena's glow dimmed for the briefest second, but her face remained unreadable. You may decline, Baraz said coolly, and depart within 72 hours. Or you accept and remain. Ryan's mind raced. Refuse, and the mission was over. Accept, and he'd be tethered to a woman he'd just met. One made of fire, no less. He looked at Lena again. Her gaze held no threat, only control, determination, and, he couldn't be sure, a flicker of curiosity. Fine, Ryan said at last, jaw tightening. I'll do it, but don't expect me to like it. Lena's lips moved in something almost like a smile. That, she said, is not a requirement. Ryan paced the obsidian floor of his assigned quarters, jaw clenched, palms damp. The room was elegant, warm, not just in temperature, but in design. Soft, living stone curved around him like an embrace, the air fragrant with sulfur-tinged herbs. But he couldn't relax. Tomorrow, the bonding ceremony, the rite of Firelink, a psychic connection, an emotional tether, full mental exposure to a being whose blood boiled at 1,200 degrees. No, he muttered. No way, this is standard diplomacy. Behind him, the door dissolved with a whisper. Lena stepped in, moving like heat distortion over stone, fluid, silent, intense. Her robe shimmered in dark ember tones, mirroring her mood. You're agitated, she said without preamble. Ryan turned, fists clenched. You think? You people want me to open my mind like a book and let you flip through the pages? That's not how I operate. Lena approached, her glowing eyes fixed on him. How you operate is irrelevant. Tarvex demands connection, not just for your survival, for comprehension. Comprehension, he snapped. I'm here to negotiate mining rights and trade routes, not play therapist in a lava temple. She tilted her head. And yet, you agreed. Because I had no choice. You always have a choice, she replied. You chose survival. You chose duty. That is the seed of understanding. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. What do you even want from me? You want to dive into my childhood? My worst failures? The nightmares I barely admit to myself? Yes. Her answer was immediate, calm, brutally honest. He stared at her, incredulous. Why would anyone want that? Lena moved closer. Her skin shimmered, heat radiating like a forge. But her voice was quiet. Because to us, withholding pain is more dangerous than expressing it. Silence breeds instability. We are raised to share emotion, memory, fear. The bond prevents collapse. That's insane, Ryan said. Humans, most of us, we survive by compartmentalizing. We keep moving. Her eyes darkened, molten gold cooling to burn umber. That is why so many of you break. The words hit harder than he expected. She stepped closer, just enough for the heat of her body to brush against his aura like an open flame. I don't seek to control you, Ryan warned, only to hold you steady while you walk unfamiliar ground. He looked away, heart pounding, unsure whether it was fear or something else. You make it sound like this bond is sacred. It is, she said, and it's voluntary. I will not force you. Ryan swallowed hard. What happens if I fail? If I can't open up the way your ritual demands? You suffer. Alone. And she paused, the first hesitation he'd seen in her. I burn. Unmoored. We both unravel. Silence hung between them, thick and crackling. Then Ryan whispered, "God help me." Lena's voice was soft. "You may find he's listening through me." And then she was gone, leaving behind only heat and the taste of fear laced with curiosity. The ritual chamber was carved from the heart of a mountain, its walls glistening with veins of liquid fire trapped behind crystal. At its center, the cupol's on, the pool of melding, bubbled with molten amber light. It wasn't liquid, not quite, but something between plasma and memory, a living medium designed to transmit thought, feeling, and essence. Ryan stood at the edge, stripped of all but a ceremonial wrap. His skin already felt raw from the heat. Across from him, Lena descended soundlessly, the flickering energy casting her in silhouette, half woman, half inferno. "You must step in first," she said. "The pool reads your essence before mine. It will adjust to your pain." Ryan hesitated, then, without a word, stepped into the cupol. It wasn't hot. It was everything. The moment his foot touched the surface, it rippled with memory. Not his, but someone's. A laugh in a darkened room. A name whispered in reverence. Then his memories surged forward, unbidden, uncontrolled. Flames swallowed his vision. A planet torn open by orbital fire. Screams and static. Colonists running. A child clutching a stuffed animal, eyes wide with disbelief. The insignia on his commander's uniform as she ordered the retreat. Ryan, powerless, watching the atmosphere ignite. He gasped but couldn't scream. Lena stepped in. Where her body touched the cupol, it responded, red and gold light dancing in spirals. The medium connected them instantly. A bridge of pain. She saw him. Her gasp echoed inside his skull. She didn't speak, but he felt her horror, her sorrow, and then her acceptance. Not pity, not condemnation, understanding. Then her memories rose to meet his. 2 children chasing fire wisps through molten caverns. A boy laughing, his hands always too warm, his eyes too curious. Then the alarms. A flash of light from the sky. The smell of ash that never left. Her hands digging through rubble. The body they found cradled in glass. Lena trembled. Her fire dimmed. Ryan's chest tightened. The pain was hers, and yet it was his now, too. The cupol pulsed, flared, enveloped them both. They weren't just seeing anymore. They were merged. Fear, guilt, loneliness, duty, sacrifice, all tangled. And something else. Something alive. When they emerged, the chamber was silent. The ritual complete. The bond forged. Neither spoke. Neither could. Their eyes met across the dim light. And for a moment, all the diplomatic posturing and cultural barriers fell away. She turned first, wrapping herself in a cloak of living flame. He followed, still shaken, still raw. Outside, the air felt strangely cooler. The world no longer quite the same. They didn't speak on the way back, but something had shifted deep, irreversibly. Beneath his skin, Ryan could still feel the echo of her memory. Her brother's name, the heat of her grief. And behind her glowing eyes, Lena now carried a piece of his sorrow. Neither would admit it yet, but they were no longer strangers. The flame link was barely a day old when everything began to unravel. Ryan stood before the council again, this time in the Hall of Agreements. Negotiation holos hovered between delegations, mapping trade routes, mineral rights, research exchanges. It was textbook diplomacy, until the crystal windows shattered with a shriek. Explosions echoed outside. Screams followed. Security systems flared red, and molten light glyphs twisted across the chamber walls. "Lena," Ryan called, already moving toward her. She'd gone rigid, her face hardening like cooling magma. "They've come." "Ooh, La Torcar," she hissed. "The Purifiers. Flame-born traditionalists. They reject all bonding with outsiders. They think I've defiled the flame." The council scattered. Guards swarmed the perimeter. Lena turned to Ryan, fire already surging beneath her skin. "You must leave." "Not without you," he snapped. A blast rocked the structure, sending shards of obsidian flying. One embedded itself in Ryan's shoulder. He grunted, but didn't stop. Lena tried to shield him, her heat flaring instinctively. He winced as the air around her burned oxygen from his lungs. "We can't outrun them," she warned. "We won't." He grabbed her hand. She gasped. It was the first time he touched her without ritual or protocol. Skin to skin. His palms sizzled, nerves screaming, but he didn't let go. Something passed between them, raw, primal. Her fire flared in panic, then dimmed. She pulled her heat inward. For him. Her eyes widened in shock. "You're burning," she whispered. "I've burned before," he replied through gritted teeth. "Move." They dashed through fractured corridors, emergency glyphs lighting the path. Explosions faded behind them, replaced by rhythmic thudding, protest chants. They burst into the embassy atrium just as a shockwave cracked the main arch. A group of masked radicals surged in. Ryan pushed Lena aside, raised a broken ceremonial spear, and charged. 2 went down. The others backed off, surprised. That moment was enough. Lena stepped forward, fire swirling around her like wings of molten glass. "Enough," she bellowed, her voice laced with harmonic rage. The radicals froze. "You shame the flame," she said. "This bond was chosen, not forced. It is our way." One figure stepped forward, taller, older, robes flickering with crimson symbols. "You are tainted. You brought the ice blood into the sacred pool. You let him touch you." She lifted her chin. "He bled for me." She turned to Ryan, who had collapsed against the wall, clutching his seared hand. Lena crossed to him, knelt, and reached for him without hesitation. "No gloves this time," he murmured. "No protocols," she whispered, pressing her hand to his. Her heat surged and then softened, wrapping around his pain. He blinked. "You're controlling it. I wasn't sure I could." She looked up, eyes blazing. "But I chose to." The radicals vanished into the shadows, shamed. The council would later call it a terrorist incursion. The sanctuary lay buried beneath the oldest volcano on Tarvex, an ancient archive, hewn from stones so dense it dulled even the planet's pulse. Here, no flames danced. No council watched. Just silence. And shadows. Lena led Ryan through the low archway without speaking. Only the glow of her body lit the path, now subdued, flickering like candlelight rather than wildfire. When they entered the inner chamber, she turned and gestured toward the stone bench carved into the wall. "Sit," she said softly. Ryan obeyed, his bandaged hands still aching. The burns weren't severe, but the memory of her touch lingered far more deeply than the pain. Lena stood across from him, arms folded, her face unreadable, until she finally spoke. "My brother's name was Tyven." The name rang like a bell in the stillness. "He was my twin, my flame bond. We shared thought, even before the cupal ritual. He was curious, dangerously so. When the first human scouts landed on the edge of the ash plains, he was the first to approach them." Ryan stayed quiet. He tried to talk, tried to show peace. They shot him. A pause. No flicker of rage, just sorrow. Not out of fear, not by mistake. They were hired mercenaries, outside diplomatic command, there to test our response. Ryan's gut twisted. "They weren't supposed to be there," he said hoarsely. "No," she agreed. "But they were, and the humans who sent them denied it. Erased records, lied to the council." Ryan leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I'm sorry." Lena didn't look away. "It's not apology I need. It's truth. Your turn." His breath caught, but he nodded slowly. There was a colony world. Lyri 6. Half human, half synthetic civilization. Conflict with Earth over trade jurisdiction. They begged for protection when pirates began targeting their orbital farms. He rubbed his face. The memory tasted like iron. "I was there. I had authority. I could have sent a fleet." Lena's voice was quiet. "You didn't." "No," he stared at the floor. A trade pact was in progress. Too delicate to risk. Leadership advised strategic delay. I obeyed. By the time the negotiations concluded, Lyri 6 was gone. Silence stretched between them. Then Lena moved forward. She sat beside him, not touching, but near. Close enough for him to feel the warmth of her presence. "I don't think you're cruel," she said. He looked at her. "But you think I'm a coward." "No, I think you were trained to be one." That stung. Lena turned to face him fully. We are taught from birth that pain is shared. That truth is sacred. But your world, your job, demands masks. Ryan met her gaze. I don't want to wear it anymore. Ryan awoke in the dim light of the sanctuary's upper chamber, heart pounding from a dream he couldn't quite remember, only a lingering warmth, like fingers trailing fire across his skin. It wasn't a bed. The heat was real. Lena stood at the far end of the room, back to him, her silhouette sharp against the glowing vents of magma embedded in the wall. She wasn't meditating or preparing for council. She was trembling. Her inner fire, normally disciplined, focused, was flaring out in chaotic bursts. Glowing veins raced across her skin like sunspots beneath glass. Her robes shifted through hues of amber and crimson, unable to settle. "Lena," he asked quietly. She stiffened, then turned slowly, arms wrapped tight across her chest. "You shouldn't be near me right now." Ryan sat up. "You're overheating." Her voice was ragged. Emotion interferes with regulation. The bond amplifies it. "I can't when I'm like this." "You're scared," he said. "I could hurt you." He stood, slowly, barefoot on the warm stone. The temperature rose with every step he took toward her. His skin prickled, his lungs struggled, but he didn't stop. "You won't." "I might." "But you haven't." She clenched her fists, eyes blazing gold. "I almost did. Yesterday, in the atrium. If I hadn't pulled back." "But you did pull back." He was close now. Too close. The air shimmered between them like the surface of the sun. "You think I don't feel it too? This, whatever it is, building between us." Lena's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's dangerous." Ryan smiled bitterly. That's the first true thing about it. Their breath mingled now, hot and humid and unsteady. The bond pulsed between them, not just emotional but elemental. His heartbeat echoed in her core. Her energy wrapped around his thoughts. "I dream of you," she said suddenly. "Of your hands, your voice, your memory of Earth's reign." He closed the distance. "I dream of your grief, your brother's laughter, your strength." Her fingers twitched. She reached for him, but pulled back just short of touching. "I want to," she whispered, "but I'll scorch you." Ryan reached out slowly, cautiously, and touched the back of her hand. It was hot, scalding, but he didn't pull away. Her breath hitched. She didn't understand. "I choose the burn," he said. For a moment, time stopped, and in that moment, her flame didn't lash out. It softened. She let him touch her fully then, hands, arms, face. Every inch of skin a battlefield between danger and surrender. His breath came in shallow gasps. Her fire wavered, then wrapped itself around him, not as a weapon, but as a shield. When he finally pulled back, skin reddened, heartbeat erratic, she stared at him in disbelief. "You should be in agony." "I am," he said, "but not from the heat." Her eyes widened. Neither of them moved for a long while. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was closer than either had been in years. And that was already terrifying. The message came at midnight, masked inside a routine data ping from the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Ryan sat alone in the sanctuary's communication alcove. The stone console flared briefly, accepting his biometric scan. Then the message decrypted, projecting a tight beam hologram into the smoky air. Director Harrow appeared, cold eyes, tighter mouth. Behind him, a blurred backdrop of Earth's high council chambers. "Consul Ward," the voice said, low and clipped. "You're off script." Ryan's pulse spiked. "We've received new intelligence from the deep scanner arrays. Tarvex's sublayers contain ultrite strata, dense, potent, and naturally stable. An energy source 10 times more efficient than fusion isotopes." Ryan's jaw clenched. Ultrite, the rarest of the rare. Enough to power an entire planetary grid with a pebble-sized core. Harrow continued. "This was not disclosed in their negotiation proposals. We now believe the Tarvalians are intentionally underplaying their resource potential." "They're not," Ryan muttered. "They don't even understand half the value it has to us." The hologram didn't care. New orders. Undermine the agreement. So procedural doubt. Delay the treaty. What? Your bond with the native guide has raised alarms in the corporate council. There's concern you've become emotionally compromised. We need a cleaner transition for extraction rights. Ryan's stomach turned. You're talking about occupation. We're talking about Earth survival, Harrow snapped. We're dying out there, Ward. If you're not with us. I am Earth. Ryan shot back. That doesn't mean I sell out everyone I meet. Harrow leaned in, his voice ablade. Then remember your oath. You serve the Alliance, not your heart. The transmission cut. Ryan sat in the dark, fists trembling. Sabotage the talks. Betray Lena. Pave the way for a military push. He leaned forward, resting his head in his hands. The heat from the walls now felt suffocating. He thought of Lena's laugh, rare but real. Her brother's name, still echoing inside him. The way she'd reached for him despite fear. The moment her fire had softened for him. And now he was supposed to frame her. Twist her trust into proof of deception. Break the very bond that had started to heal them both. Footsteps echoed behind him. He turned, and there she was. Silent. Watching. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said. I might have, Ryan replied, forcing a smile. Lena tilted her head, sensing the shift in his rhythm, the disturbance in his thoughts. Her eyes narrowed. You've been contacted. It wasn't a question. He nodded slowly. By your people? Another nod. Her fire dimmed. What did they ask of you? Ryan stood, stepped forward, and whispered. Something I'll never forgive them for. She held his gaze for a long time, then nodded. Then don't forgive, she said. Resist. And in that moment, Ryan Ward made his choice. Earth would not dictate his heart. Ryan's declaration of defiance had been whispered in a dim sanctuary, but its consequences roared across Tarvex like wildfire. By dawn, he and Lena had gone directly to the elders. No entourage, no diplomatic masks. They laid it bare, Earth's hidden motives, the encrypted orders, the ultrite, the corporate thirst. Lena's voice burned like a forge as she translated each truth into the high tone. Ryan watched the council's flames shift, shock, fury, disbelief. Elder Varaz's fire turned white-hot, the rarest of emotional signatures, betrayal and shame. But the council did not act rashly. They deliberated, listened. At last Varaz spoke. You have risked much, Earthborn. Risked each other. This deserves response. But truth alone is not trust. Lena stepped forward. We offer a path. A delay. Let Tarvex consider Earth's request. Honestly, this time. Murmurs echoed among the elders. Ryan added, not from greed. From transparency. From mutual survival. There was a pause. Then a new voice cut the air, a deeper register, more ancient. It came from Elder Xith, a silent figure until now. If this bond between you is the root of trust, Xith said, then let it be tested. Lena went still. Xith continued, not through words, through the rite of Paul Thurith, the union of flame. Gasps spread like heat ripples. Even Varaz turned sharply. That ritual hasn't been invoked in generations, she murmured. Ryan glanced between them. What is it? Lena's voice dropped. The union of flame, a sacred merging of core fire, meant only for those whose souls burn in harmony. It's a final proof. Complete exposure. Total surrender. Ryan's mouth went dry. And if we're not in harmony, then we burn each other from the inside, she said simply, and the council will end the negotiations. Varaz rose. The vote on Earth's proposal will be delayed, but it hinges on this final offering. The rite will commence in 2 sunrises. Lena and Ryan bowed in unison. But as they left the chamber, Ryan turned to her. You don't have to do this. Her gaze flickered with something unreadable. Don't I? I won't let you be destroyed for a political gesture. She stopped walking. This isn't politics anymore, Ryan. She turned, eyes fierce. You carry part of me. My memories. My grief. I carry your shame, your guilt. The bond is real, but the right, it demands more. It demands truth without armor. Can you do that? He asked. She looked away. Can you? Silence. Then Ryan reached out, gently brushing her hand. Then we do it. Together. Lena looked at their fingers, united but trembling. No barriers, she whispered. No lies, he said. The flame had been lit. Now it will be tested. The sky above Tarvex darkened as the twin suns eclipsed, casting the capital into an amber twilight. It was the appointed hour. Thousands gathered around the obsidian dome, the city's heart, its oldest structure. Forged in ancient eruption, it had housed every rite of fire, every coronation, every sacred vow. But never this, not in living memory. Inside, the air shimmered with anticipation. Energy swirled around the arena floor, drawn to the two figures standing at its center. Ryan Ward, Earthborn Consul. Lena Tkar, Flamebound Guide. They stood within a circle of molten glyphs, each one pulsing in time with their heartbeats. Elder Varaz lifted her staff. The rite of Paul Thereth begins. Lena stepped forward first. Her robes fell away, replaced by ceremonial ash silk wrapped tight around her torso and limbs. The glowing lines along her skin flared, not in anger, but in invitation. "I open my fire," she intoned, voice trembling. "Let's speak." Ryan followed, dressed in obsidian-threaded white. Sweat poured from him, not just from heat, but for what came next. "I open my fear," he replied. "Let be seen." They reached toward each other, not with hands, but with minds. The glyphs surged. Suddenly, he was her, running barefoot as a child through lava tunnels, laughing as molten beetles skittered away, clinging to her brother's back during stormquakes. The ache of longing when he was gone. The scream she never let escape her throat when she found his body. Lena was him, floating in a vacuum outside a ruptured freighter. Oxygen low, the stars cold, the silence unbearable. A child's voice calling his name from a memory. His own voice whispering apologies to no one. The dread of being forgotten. Tears spilled from her eyes. His knees buckled. They reached deeper, past pain, to hope, to wonder, to the moment their hands had first touched, to the trust that had bloomed where nothing should have grown. Their souls met. For a breathless instant, all of Tarvex fell silent. Then, the dome exploded in light. A golden radiance erupted skyward, visible from orbit. Crystalline walls refracted it in impossible patterns. The glyphs lifted into the air, burning symbols of union and surrender. The crowd gasped, then dropped to their knees in reverence. No pair had ever produced such resonance. It was undeniable. True flame. Ryan and Lena stood in the center, chests heaving, hands clasped. Alive. Changed. Bound in ways neither science nor spirit could undo. The council would later declare the union sacred beyond precedent. The people would chant their names in streets for days. But that night, after the light faded and the crowds dispersed, Lena sat beside Ryan in the sanctuary, her hand in his, a soft smile on her lips. And then the call came. An Earth dreadnought had entered Tarvex orbit, unauthorized. Their flame had been witnessed. Now, others came to claim it. The sky cracked open at dawn. A rift of silver tore through Tarvex's amber clouds as the Earth dreadnought breached the upper atmosphere. It descended slowly, like a blade lowering onto a throat, sleek, cold, and unmistakably hostile. Crimson emergency lights flooded the city. Council towers shimmered with protective wards, while defensive beacons roared to life for the first time in centuries. Ryan stood on the balcony of the sanctuary, fists clenched as he watched the ship descend. The Orion Prime, Earth's largest diplomatic vessel, now broadcasting no identification, no clearance, no courtesy. Lena appeared beside him, her fire flickering wildly. "They're here to take you," she said. "They're here to take everything," Ryan corrected, voice hollow. Moments later, the message arrived, delivered not through hologram, but boots on stone. Uniformed Earth operatives, armed and unreadable, stepped through the sanctuary archway. "Consul Ward," the leader said flatly, "you're under arrest for breach of diplomatic protocol and unauthorized integration with a non-human species. You will be returned for debrief and reconditioning." Lena stepped forward, her body radiating rising heat. "Step back," one soldier warned. She didn't. Ryan raised a hand. "It's all right." "No," she growled. "It's not." But he met her eyes, calm, resolved. "If I resist, they'll start a war. They already have." They bound his wrists in neural cuffs. He didn't fight. As they led him away, he looked back once, long enough to see Lena trembling, barely holding her fire in check. Her eyes weren't glowing. They were weeping. And then he was gone, taken not by enemies, but by the world he once called home. Lena didn't cry. Not when the shuttle broke through the cloud line. Not when the council demanded patience and restraint. But when she entered the caverns beneath the volcanic heart of Tarvex, when she stood before the Serathmon, the flame source, the eternal wellspring of her people's power, her knees finally buckled. The chamber pulsed with ancient heat, older than time, sentient and semi-living. Few had approached it. Fewer had survived. "I need your strength," she whispered, kneeling before the inferno. The flame responded. A column of living fire surged upward, towering above her, forming limbs, a head, a face, fluid, ever-shifting. It spoke in crackling tones of soul and sorrow. "You seek power. Why? To protect. To destroy?" Lena lowered her head. "If I must. At what cost? Myself." Silence. Then heat. Blinding. Pure. Her skin flared to incandescence. Her thoughts began to fray. The source pressed into her very essence, seeking weakness, hypocrisy, fear. And at her center, it found a name. Ryan. The fire paused. "This bond, it is real. Yes. Then I will grant what is real. But know this, flames cannot be undone." Lena rose, her body now crowned with gold and scarlet flame, her soul blazing with purpose. She would burn down the sky to bring him back. The Orion Prime's holding cell was clinically cold, an engineered chill designed to suppress alien bioenergies. Ryan sat motionless on the reinforced slab, neural cuffs humming with subtle pulses that kept his reflexes dull and thoughts sluggish. It didn't matter. They had already taken everything but his will. Then, everything changed. The lights flickered. The hum stopped. The cold was devoured by sudden heat. The door melted. Not opened. Not breached. Obliterated in a wave of golden fire. She stood in the doorway, robed in living flame, eyes like twin stars. No guards. No alarms. Just Lena Tkar, reborn. Ryan's mouth moved before his brain caught up. "Lena." She crossed the room without hesitation, without fear. The cuff sparked, then crumbled into ash. Ryan stumbled forward and caught himself in her arms. No burning, no pain, just warmth. Controlled, willing. She had done the impossible. "You're not searing me," he whispered. "I'm not afraid of hurting you anymore," she said, voice husky with something deeper than flame. He touched her cheek, and for the first time, her skin felt like flesh. Hot, yes, but human. "You went to the source." She nodded. "It showed me that real control doesn't come from suppression. It comes from purpose." A klaxon wailed in the distance. "Drones," she said. "We have minutes." They ran. Through the shattered bowels of the Orion Prime, corridors warped from heat and battle. She led him not to the main port, but to a narrow access shaft that dove deep into the planet, into the lava tunnels that once echoed with her childhood laughter. He followed without question. Above them, drone wings hissed like razors. Below them, the ground burned with primal fury. And still, Lena never let go of his hand. They wove through ancient caverns lit by bioluminescent roots and glowing magma veins. Echoes of distant thuds told them the drones were triangulating. "We can't outrun them forever," Ryan gasped. "I don't intend to." She stopped at a cavern edge, overlooking a churning river of lava. Across it, a narrow stone archway barely clung to the wall. "We jump, then collapse the bridge." He stared. "You think I can jump that?" "I think we can." She turned to him, pressed both palms to his cheeks. "I trust you. Do you trust me?" His throat tightened. "With my life." "Then leap with me." They jumped, and when they landed, breathless and alive, Lena turned and raised both hands. Fire lanced out, not wild, not wrathful, but precise. The bridge exploded in midair. The drones halted, disoriented. Deep beneath the scorched crust of Tarvex, in the heart of the ancient relay vaults once used for planetary defense, Ryan stood before a rusted terminal. The screen flickered, barely operational, jury-rigged to the remnants of a satellite uplink Lena had reactivated using raw fire code. "This'll work?" he asked, fingers hovering above the keys. Lena nodded. "The relay's old, but untraceable. Once you broadcast, every major channel, Earth and Tarvex alike, will receive the signal. No filtering, no corporate firewall." Ryan swallowed hard, then began to type. He opened with video proof, leaked from the Orion Prime's command archive, encrypted by a whistleblower still loyal to Earth's ideals. Orders from the Earth Corporate Coalition. Plans for ultrite strip mining. Recorded calls between Director Harrow and Earth's energy syndicates. Lines like, "Once we remove the locals, energy sovereignty is ours." Next came audio, his own secret recording of the order to betray Lena. Then came his voice. "This is Consul Ryan Ward. What I've shown you is real. I was ordered to sabotage peace, to sacrifice a civilization for resource control. I refused, and I'm not alone." Lena stepped in a frame, her fire subdued but radiant. "I am Lena Tkar, Flameborn of Tarvex. We offer trust. We were met with betrayal, but we still believe in unity, if it's built on truth." They ended the transmission with a simple message. No more conquest, only cooperation. The message detonated across the system like a synflower. On Earth, civil nets lit up. Millions tuned in. The Global People's Council, long buried beneath corporate influence, convened an emergency session. Protests erupted in the equatorial capitals. Syndicate executives were summoned for hearings. Harrow resigned within the hour. Though some said resigned was generous. The invasion was recalled. The Orion Prime withdrew under official censure. Meanwhile, on Tarvex, the High Council met not in secrecy, but in full view of the public. The people spoke through fire signals across the mountains. The chants were unified, open, but not unguarded. Elder Sith proposed a new path forward. "The bond forged in flame has shown us more than any archive. Let's build together, but not as master and subject, as partners." Thus was born the Consortium of Flame and Sky, an interstellar research and cultural exchange center. With joint leadership, Lena Tkar, Ryan Ward, Flame and Reason, heart and voice, not ambassadors, but architects of a new age. When they stood before the gathered crowds at the consortium's stone-laced unveiling, Ryan felt Lena's hand slip into his. No burning, only light, and when they spoke, he did so together. "We begin not as diplomats," Lena said, "but as witnesses to what almost destroyed us. And to what saved us," Ryan added. "Truth, choice, and each other." The first sunrise after the formal signing of the accord cast long, golden shadows across the obsidian plazas of Tarvex's capital. Twin suns rose in perfect synchrony, a rare celestial event the locals called Tvarnal, or Dawn of Twin Hearts. For once, it felt literal. The air buzzed not with suspicion, but with celebration. The Consortium of Flame and Sky opened its doors with a chime of harmonized frequencies. Earth harmonics tuned to Vidian crystalline song. Thousands tuned in across both worlds to witness the inaugural exchange. For the first time in human history, Earthborn students and Tarvalian flame practitioners sat in the same atrium, learning from one another. And at the heart of it all stood Ryan Ward and Lena Tkar, not merely founders but symbols, not merely partners but proof. Their love, once secret, now stood engraved in glowing letters beneath the atrium's dome. Flame that warms without burning, truth that binds without chains. The words weren't written by them. They were the title of a poem, written by a 10-year-old Earth girl named Mia, assigned to write about peace heroes in a public school on Mars. Her composition had gone viral. It read, in part, "She was made of fire, and he of rain. But they danced like dawn and dusk, and built a sky that holds both stars." Copies appeared in Tarvex artisan shops, on Earth's public transport holo panels, and even on the jacket lapel of the new Earth Council liaison. The legend had begun, but Ryan and Lena didn't live in myth. They shared morning tea, her blend of lava root and his recycled chamomile. They argued over budget allocations for thermal classrooms. They walked the upper spires in the cool night air, hands brushing, skin pressed together with casual intimacy once thought impossible. They had a life, a real one, not always easy, but always theirs. And in classrooms across Earth, children no longer asked if Tarvalians were dangerous. They asked if fire could fall in love, and believe it when it did. The volcano stirred beneath them, deep, ancient breaths reverberating through the stone balcony where Ryan and Lena sat, cloaked in silence and starlight. Below, the crater's molten heart pulsed like the heartbeat of a slumbering god, painting their faces in hues of ember and gold. It had been 1 year, one full cycle since the day the sky cracked open, since the bond that changed two worlds was forged before all to see. Lena leaned against Ryan, her head on his shoulder, her fire a calm hum beneath her skin. No longer volatile, no longer restrained, simply present. They had built peace, and now they built time. Stolen in quiet hours when diplomacy didn't demand their voices, when politics didn't weigh on their spines. "Do you think," Ryan murmured, "they'll ever believe we were scared?" Lena smiled without opening her eyes. "We were terrified," he chuckled. "Even during the dance? Especially during the dance." They fell into silence again, listening to the deep rumbles beneath them. It wasn't threatening. It was reminding. Life was born from pressure, from fire, from surrender. "I've been thinking," Lena said softly, tracing her fingers along the back of his hand, "about children." His breath caught. "Ours?" he asked, uncertain if it was jest or dream. "One day," she answered, serious. "There are technologies, ways to blend our code, our fire, your biology, maybe even your sense of sarcasm. I'd warn you," he said with a grin. "That's genetic." She laughed, and the sound, still crystalline, still new, wrapped around his chest and held him. "I want them to grow up under both skies," she said, "to learn from both flames." He looked up at the heavens, where twin moons began to rise. "One sky now carries our name," he whispered. She followed his gaze, and there it was. A new star, charted only months ago by Tarvex's orbital observatories. Twin Chord, pulsing with synchronized frequency, named officially in the Galactic Archive as Relot, two bound, one flame. Their star, their story. "Not all flame is destruction," Lena whispered. "Some just warms, stays, endures." He kissed her temple, the heat there steady and comforting. "And not all silence is distance," he said. "Some is peace." Above them, Relai shimmered. Below, the volcano breathed. In between, on a stone ledge carved by centuries and consecrated by choice, two souls once lost, once afraid, now watched the night together. Not as symbols, not as saviors, but simply as themselves. Still learning, still burning, still home. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Your support helps us create more deep and gripping stories just for you. There's more to come.